Okay, so a long and cold economic winter is coming. You need to know about it and you need to prepare for it. So let's talk about it. Okay, so I'm not an economic advisor. Always do your own research before doing anything with your money, okay? Okay, so I've been warning you guys all along about some important levels to watch in this market. And I've also been talking to you about important macroeconomic issues. The Nasdaq right now is moving further and further into correction territory. Now, remember when I told you that the reason why the market has not crashed yet is largely due to the way the market is skewed toward the Magnificent Seven, right? Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Nvidia, Tesla, Meta. Okay, well, they're now starting to crack. Now, these guys are largely represented in the triple Qs. Let's take a quick look and see what the triple Qs are looking like right now. Okay, so this is the one-year chart of the triple Qs. You can see we have 1, 2, 3, 4 lower peaks. And now it just cracked important support. Next support level comes way down here. Can you see where I'm pointing here? I didn't have time to draw a line. So we have a big air gap between where we are right now. We just broke through an important support level. And now we got a lot of downside ahead of us. And remember, one of the main drivers of this pullback is the dramatic rise of interest rates. Let me remind you. So this is a chart of past rate hike cycles. And the one we're in currently is this yellow one on the far left. You can see the rate at which this has risen, which is the fastest pace in like 40 years. Now, this is a problem because, again, as interest rates go up, the more expensive all of our lives become. And the whole idea behind raising interest rates is to slow down the economy. Well, we just had a new GDP release out, and it puts the economy growing at about 5%. So this is a classic example where good news is bad news. Because to fight inflation, the whole idea is to slow the economy down, and they're not able to do it. So we're not going to see interest rates come down anytime soon. If the Federal Reserve is serious about fighting inflation, they're going to have to raise rates quite a bit more. So buckle up. We're going to see much higher inflation for a much longer period of time. I mean, this is serious stuff, my friends. I know I was talking to Rob last night, off camera, and we both agreed, man, we're gonna beef up our prepping efforts. We're gonna be stocking up, and you should be too. Now, one of the interesting reasons why the GDP is popping is because I promise you, people out there, they're stocking up too. Because anything that you can get now is going to be a pretty good investment. If you stock up on some pasta and spaghetti sauce and batteries and toilet paper, okay, it's a good investment because they're not going to get cheaper anytime soon. So stock them up now because you're going to save money over the course of the year. So that's a little bit of a prepping message for you. Get out there and get on it. Another little interesting anecdote that kind of demonstrates the weakness of our economy is for any of you who are homeowners out there, or if you have been homeowners, you know that you can, on your house, prepay your property taxes, right, if you wanted to. And a lot of people do that. They say, oh, I'm just going to pay my property taxes for the next year. Usually you can go out like a year, right? And so I don't have to worry about it this year. And by doing that, you're locking in your current rate of property taxes. Well, there are more and more counties around the country here who are not allowing that anymore. You have to pay as you go. Now, the reason why they're doing that is because they expect property taxes to go up. And if they allow you to prepay and lock in the current rate, they're going to lose out on some pretty good revenue down the road. So little interesting little clues out there, right? That the powers to be, they expect things to become much more expensive as well. So again, not a good sign. Companies continue to lay out people at 1,000, 5,000, 10,000 people at a clip. Unemployment is going to soar. It's going to get worse. And if you're one of those people who suffered one of those cuts lately, man, my heart goes out to you. And for the rest of you, you're probably looking over your shoulder. So again, it's all about getting prepared, and finding ways to steel yourself against what is coming. We're entering a moment in time here, people. Okay, so again, there is a mass hoarding of food going on out there. And that's one of the reasons why you've seen these GDP numbers pop a little bit. This is a very interesting phenomenon. This typically does happen at the beginning of a recession. You get a last little burst of economic activity as people start hoarding things. But that is actually not a sign of a healthy economy. It's actually a bad sign. In fact, this phenomenon of a burst of people hoarding stuff is the early stages of hyperinflation. Again, because people are seeing the writing on the walls and they are hoarding whatever they can get their hands on. So that's one of the reasons why I do believe that we do have hyperinflation coming our way. Hello, Argentina. Hello, Venezuela. Hello, Turkey. So anybody who's paying attention out there, they're starting to get rid of their dollars. They're putting them into other assets like food. And of course, you got these guys. People are starting to buy gold and silver. Have you started yet? Have you started to lock in your buying power in gold and silver? If you haven't, you have to reach out to me or Rob, and let's get you going on that. We have a program that you can use not only to acquire your gold and silver, but also to establish an extra stream of passive income there. All right, so I'm going to get to that in a minute, but let me finish this thought. So again, the reason why these GDP numbers and the rate of growth is important is because the Federal Reserve is trying to put a cap on the growth of the economy. They're trying to fight inflation. And with this hot GDP number that came out, that's not going to happen now. I mean, people out there who want to buy a house, they're begging for the Federal Reserve to lower interest rates because they can't afford to buy a house at these rates. But you know what? It's not going to happen. It is only going to get worse from here. And by the way, this is not just a U.S.-centric issue. This is a global issue. Now, one big driver of inflation is going to be the dumping of U.S. currency assets in the world community. The majority of U.S. dollars actually reside overseas. And as those dollars start coming home, that's just going to put fuel on the bonfire of inflation. And it's already happening. Let's start by taking a look at China. This is a chart of China's holdings of U.S. treasuries. And you can see that they have been unwinding their position of U.S. treasuries. Now, as I've told you before, the current largest holder of U.S. treasuries is Japan, and second is China. Well, that's a relatively recent phenomenon. Up until about 2019, China was the largest holder, but now they've been selling pretty aggressively. And again, and if you take another look at the chart, you can see that the sell-off is accelerating. They're dumping pretty quickly. The U.S. dollar is being devalued at an alarming rate, courtesy of the incompetence, or by design, of our officials. And as they erode the value of the U.S. dollar, life for us Americans are going to become exponentially more expensive. We have been spending money that we don't have. Listen, we are broke, okay? America has no money, and that's the problem here. Our politicians keep spending more and more money that we don't have. They just print it out of thin air, thinking that that's okay, that that's normal. All right, so this is what our politicians are doing these days. We are spending $6.1 trillion. We only bring in $4.4 trillion in revenues, leaving us an annual deficit of $1.7 trillion. And again, to remind you again, let's look at the growth rate of our expenditures on our interest payments. This is the growth rate. This is what we're spending just to service our debt. Now, China, by the way, is not the only country that has been dumping U.S. securities. This is happening all over the place. Now, the mainstream media's message is that China is dumping U.S. securities because their economy is so bad. I'm not buying it. I think they're looking at America and they're looking at our economic policies, and they can see that we are out of control. So they're losing confidence in our ability to make payments on our debts. We have squandered our prestige in the world, both economically and socially and geopolitically. We have a bad habit here in America of confiscating the assets of other countries. And our geopolitical and diplomatic screw-ups is really coming home to roost. Here's an interesting little chart for you. Let's take a look at Russia's holdings of U.S. securities. Okay, at one point in time, Russia was actually a very big holder of U.S. Securities. They were invested in our economy. They liked our economy. We were on actually pretty good terms with Russia for quite a while there. But look what has been happening since 2018. They've been dumping our treasuries like crazy. They don't want to have anything to do with U.S. securities. And actually, look at where it started. Let's go back to 2014 there. See this first big dip here toward the end there of 2014? When Russia started to unwind their U.S. security positions? Anybody of you out there remember what happened in 2014? This is when there was a United States-backed coup in Ukraine. Yes, my friends, we spent years there having Hillary Clinton blame Russia for meddling in our election. Are you freaking kidding me? America does this to other countries all the time, particularly, by the way, the Obama administration and Hillary Clinton. And this is a well-documented fact. In fact, if you want to follow the breadcrumbs that led up to the current war in Ukraine, you can take it back to 2014, the Obama administration, Hillary Clinton, and another piece of work named Victoria Nuland. This woman, who was the Undersecretary of State under Hillary Clinton, you can argue was largely responsible, was largely the architect for everything that's going on in Ukraine today. She did not like the idea that the Poroshenko regime was friendly with Russia. And she schemed with opposition parties in Ukraine to throw over the Ukraine regime that was friendly with Russia. And in case you don't believe me, let me show you a clip here.
And have the UN help glue it. And, the EU.
But that is exactly what reportedly happened between US Assistant Secretary of State Victoria Nuland and US Ambassador to Ukraine Jeffrey Pyatt. The exchange has since surfaced online, including the crude swipe at the European Union. The audio clip of a woman and man, said to be Nuland and Pyatt, hears them discussing strategies to work with the three main opposition figures.
I don't think Klitsch should go into the government. I don't think it's necessary. I don't think it's a good idea.
In terms of him not going into the government, just let him sort of stay out and do his political homework and stuff. I'm just thinking in terms of sort of the process moving ahead, we want to keep the moderate Democrats together. The problem is going to be Tonybook and his guys. And, I'm sure that's part of what Yanukovych is calculating on all of this.
I think Yats is the guy who's got the economic experience, the governing experience. He's the guy, what he needs is Klitsch and Tonybook on the outside. He needs to be talking to them 4 times a week. I just think Klitsch going in, he's going to be at that level working for Yatsenyuk. It's just not going to work.
There is a suggestion for Nuland to contact Klitschko directly to play to his top dog sensibilities.
Here. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. We're here from America. Would you like some bread? Please take something.
Thank you for coming here.
This was Nuland and Pyatt visiting Independence Square in Kiev in December, handing out food to protesters and police. This latest episode is embarrassing for the US and allows Russia to argue that the opposition is being manipulated by Washington, something that Barack Obama has always denied.
And there she was in Independence Square, passing out cookies and bread and encouraging people to overthrow the previous government in Ukraine. And again, why does it matter? Well, let's look again at these two charts. This is the chart of Russia's dumping of U.S. treasuries. And this is the chart of China's dumping of U.S. treasuries. But also other countries who you think are friendly to America, they're dumping our securities as well. Japan, who is currently the #1 holder of U.S. securities, they're dumping our securities. Saudi Arabia, France. This is a worldwide phenomenon. And it's not just because they need the money. It is kind of their way of voting on the way we've been treating them all these years. This is also part of that de-dollarization project that's going on around the world. We have a coalition of countries getting together to dump the US dollar as the world's reserve currency. Hello, BRICS. Now, I know that I'm covering what seems to be disparate issues, but they do all tie together. And the punchline to all of this is that the mismanagement of our economy by our politicians, by people who do not respect money, by people who think that money can just be printed out of thin air with no consequences. The punchline is that they are destroying the buying power of our dollars. You have to work a lot harder now to maintain your standard of living, and it's going to get much worse. Okay, so I'm in the final stretch here. I'm going to start tying everything together here for you, okay? Let me show you a few pictures. Now, I put these slides together last night, so these slides are all as of last night. Now, this is the 1 month chart of the Dow Jones Industrial Average. You can see the market was down 251 points yesterday. And look at this support level that was just cracked right there. Well, let's pull out a little bit. Let's take a look at the 3 month chart. And you can see that yesterday we punched through a very important short-term support level. And the line on the top there kind of demonstrates the lower peaks that we've had. This is classic technical analysis, my friends. Well, let's pull out a little bit more. This is the 6 month chart. And you can see that this support level goes all the way back up to about 5 months ago. Now, the more frequently that a support level is touched, the more significant it becomes. And you can see here that on this last bounce off of that support level, it did not last very long. Gave it all back, and now we're right back down to this very important support level. Now, let's scroll out a little bit further and look at the significance of where we are at right now. So this is the 5-year chart. The first red line there on top, this shows the next minor support level at around the 28,500 level. Below that, the next support level comes in at around 19,000. Look at that air gap. Okay, so I'm going to respect your time and not do a whole lot of fancy technical analysis for you. I just want to paint the picture for you of what is coming if certain support levels are taken out. And for those people out there who are bullish, my question to you is why? What is it out there that makes you so bullish? Is it the increasing inflation? Is it the higher pending interest rates? Is it the continued layoffs by big companies to the tune of 1,000 to 5,000, 10,000 people at a clip? Is that what you like so much? Is the potential World War III that's looming over our heads? Is that what you like so much? And I also want you to factor in that these days, financial markets are largely run by computers and algorithms. And the computers know these support levels just as much as I do. So when certain key levels are taken out, you see an accelerated move because the computers can sell things a lot faster than humans can. So listen, you have to get prepared. You have no option here, okay? It's not a luxury anymore. You can't afford to ignore this stuff. You have to get started now, because if you wait to start preparing, you're going to be too late. You got to start preparing things now. You have to adopt this mantra that we have here. Number one, reduce your exposure to your bank. Get your money out of the damn bank. Your money in your bank is not safe. It's at risk. There's going to be a bloodbath in the banking industry like you've never seen before. And when that happens, they are likely going to steal your money because they can do it legally. So reduce your exposure to your damn bank. Put as much money as you can into gold and silver. I mean, how many times do we have to say that? And number three, establish streams of passive recurring income. The timing's really good. It just so happens that Rob and I, next week, we're going to be launching a special project that's going to be easy for anybody to develop streams of passive recurring income. We're doing a launch Zoom on Thursday, November 2nd. We're going to do 2 Zooms to allow for time differences around the world. So if you'd like to attend that Zoom, shoot one of us an email, which will be in the description below, and we will send you a link for that Zoom. If you're watching this after that event, still contact us, and we'll send you information you need to learn how to develop passive recurring income. Honest to God, we've been working on this for over 3 months, and we pretty much made it dummy proof for anybody who wants to make passive recurring income. All right, but listen, whether you utilize and take advantage of this really spectacular project that Rob and I put together or not, you have to start preparing. We're heading into a very serious period of history here, and it's not going to be a fun one. I mean, we are being hit from all sides, economically, socially, geopolitically. Imagine if it were 1927 and you knew that the crash in 1929 was going to come up. So you took your money out of your bank, you took your cash out of your bank, and you went and you bought some gold and silver with it. Then the crash comes along, you preserved your money in gold and silver and even made a profit on your gold and silver. And you were able to go out and do some shopping on luxury houses and property, for pennies on the dollar because you preserved your money. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that a lot of millionaires were actually created out of the Great Depression because they were prepared and they took advantage of it. And I want you to be prepared. Don't be scared. Be prepared. There's a bumper sticker for you. So could you please support this channel by hitting that like button for me and subscribe and maybe hit that alert button. Ed Anderson, live from Minnesota, signing out.
Copy that.